All right, welcome back to another edition of the Forts Athletics Life and Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Charles Inferna. Where at Forts Athletics, we equip coaches and athletes with the tools they seek out in order to achieve their unique and specific goals. And we're recording today on Tuesday, July 5th, on our way home from school. It's been a while since we recorded Coach's Car Chronicles podcast episode, if you will. A little bit of a crazy month in June. Here we are, back at it with a topic I don't think I've ever talked about before. And I wrote an accompanying blog post to go with this. But I was broken up with over the weekend. There was a post-collegiate thrower that reached out a little bit ago, a few months, and they asked me if I could help them throw farther. And they're a post-collegiate thrower. They've been throwing, let's see here, quite a long time actually, about, let's see, a little less than 15 years. And they reached out and they said that they kind of felt as though they needed some help, some technical expertise. So I said, sure. I said, I'd love to help out, provide any support I can to help you, achieve your goals, reach your aspirations and whatnot. And over the course of the coach-athlete relationship, we had, a few text message exchanges, like every week, more than a few every week. And basically what would happen is thrower, athlete would send me videos of them throwing, and then I would send back some technical advice, a couple of cues to work on, and then some accompanying videos from other throwers to kind of demonstrate the technique that I thought that this person might be interested in trying to, secure for themselves and begin to develop. And they felt that they had reached a plateau and that hopefully working with me, they would, get over that proverbial hump, if you will. So a couple of weeks of sessions went really well. And I believe they hit a couple of personal bests in practice. And then their first meet happened with me as their post-collegiate guide. And they didn't throw as well. They didn't throw as well as they did the week before in practice. They didn't throw as well as they had been practicing. And the technique kind of fell off a little bit. So set some cues, some other ways of, supporting the technique and finding ways that's going to best suit their skill set. And the last meet before we went on vacation was actually worse. And so they basically declined as they worked with me. Right. So it's kind of, gosh, now that I say it out loud, kind of hits differently than typing it out, but it happens, right? So I reached out, they sent me a video, I reached out, and I said, we were kind of off the grid, and, provided some suggestions, and they said that they were going to move forward with a more local coach, and they thanked me, and I said, best wishes to you and your future endeavors, and hopefully you find somebody that's better able to help you than I am. I don't take that stuff personally. At first, it does kind of hurt a little bit when somebody reaches out to you, asks for your help. You try your best to provide that support, and then they decide a couple months later that it's not worth it. It's not going to work. And the blog post that I wrote about is more about like things that I did wrong in this fostering this relationship that I think might help other coaches, or hopefully helps other coaches when they work with either high school, collegiate, post-collegiate athletes in regards to throwing and trying to achieve an achieve goals. And the first one that we didn't really lay out is realistic expectations, or what the expectations would be of me as their coach besides providing technical support and some mindset training and other things that I shared. Because I don't know. I looking back now, we had a couple of Zoom conversations before we agreed to move forward with this endeavor, but we never really discussed expectations besides I just want to throw farther. And in the blog, and you know, I think in my heart of hearts, I think that like 95% of people who throw are determined and gritty enough to spend their time throwing a shot put, discus, hammer, javelin, whatever, that they genuinely do want to throw farther. There are other metrics that can be used, I think, to help ensure whether those goals are going to be met. And after someone's been competing as a post-collegiate for so long, and they reach out and you don't achieve that goal in a couple of months, it just causes me to pause, and just think about, like, where did I miss the expectation here? Like, what else could I have done that could have better helped them throw farther? And the second thing that goes along with expectations, I think, is like laying out goals, or having a mechanism in which to really think about either process and or outcome goals. So the outcome is obviously to throw farther, and it's a particular thrower want to throw farther in their specific event, and it's not really important what the sport, well, it's track throwing, what the event is, as far as qualification for certain competitive events that we're eligible for. I'm purposely keeping this broad because we don't need to say who the athlete was, or anyway. So when laying out goals with the college athletes that I work with, we try and decipher like one or two big achievements that they want to hit. So either their freshman year, usually works with freshmen, right? What they want to accomplish their freshman year, what they hope to get out of the season, and then what they expect their career to look like. And it's tough to predict that as a freshman, as an 18 or 19-year-old, but it just kind of adds a sense of accountability of, come as a freshman, maybe you're a really good high school thrower, I want to qualify for nationals. Okay, well, it took 51 meters basically in the men's discus this year at D3 to qualify for nationals. So if you're not throwing the high school discus 130 feet, it's going to be really difficult, I think, to throw the 2K discus 165 feet, if that's what the goal is. So really, we didn't really lay out like very specific, or I didn't, process-related goals. So because they're post-collegiate, they have a job, a life, stuff like that. So having a very consistent throwing schedule wasn't something that they were going to be able to incorporate because of the lifestyle and what have you, which is fine. But then we never really discussed, and this is my fault also, parameters as far as other pieces of information that we could what do I want to say? Other points of data that we could collect to ensure that we were moving in the right direction. So if we're not throwing far at a meet, what are some things that happened leading up to the meet? What are, life stuff that's happening? Or, what's the visualization strategy? Or what's any type of mindset strategy? Or, do you have a big lift on Wednesday, big lift on Thursday? Are you journaling? Are you keeping track of basically what you're doing? So we didn't have any of that conversation. So that's definitely another one that falls on me. And I think you're going to get the trend here that I think, and I had a conversation with really well-respected and world-renowned coach at a conference a couple years ago, and I said, really the athletes, they just got to show up, right? Or not the athletes, the coaches just need to show up and provide some support. And I had a 30-minute lecture on how that way of thinking is incorrect, and that it truly does take the support of a coach to make sure that an athlete's going to achieve whatever goals they want. That it's not just as easy as showing up, and it's not just as easy as being lucky or hitting one or two good throws, right? So the last piece that goes along with that is communication. How the athlete or the athletes that you work with want to receive feedback and constructive, hopefully, criticism based on what they're doing, right? So we went back and forth via text message, via Instagram DM. We talked a lot about, I talked a lot in Coach's Eye. So he sent me, 5-second clip of their throw, put it in Coach's Eye, do all like the cool things with the arrows and the angles and so forth, and just talk about one or two things to work on for the upcoming week, to focus on, to get better, and kind of start that way. And I explained that as the coach that I am, is that it's not 50 different cues and all this stuff, but 1 to 2 things. Let's figure that out first before we move on to some bigger, maybe not more important, but just other more difficult tasks to grasp or technical cues to achieve, right? So we want to have some small wins along the way. We want to make sure that there's positive stuff happening as well. So those are the 3 things: expectations, goal setting, and communication. And I believe, as a post-collegiate coach, this is the first time that like I said, the person has decided that they were no longer interested in my coaching services. And like I said, it does, I shared that with my wife, and she's like, you just got to get over it. Like, they're adults. If they don't achieve what they want to achieve, that they're just going to find somebody else who can help them. And I think there's a lot of merit to that. I do think that there's truth that as adults we have more dispensable income, I guess, and we can hire people and try and do things that whatever it takes to get better, to achieve a certain goal. But then on the flip side, looking at it from the softer side, I guess, I don't know, like the relationship perspective of it, that 2 months and maybe 5 practices and a couple of meets might not also be a good representation of how I don't know how well the relationship's going to go, or how well the athlete's going to take to certain cues and things. But 2 meets and like I said, maybe half a dozen practices and Coach's Eye email exchange or text message exchanges. I don't know, for anybody who's listening or who is still watching, who got this far, like, what's a good adequate amount of time for throwing coaches, for example, that you're going to what's a good expectation of time before, if we're not achieving goals, that maybe between the athlete and coach, you decide to end that relationship. 2 months to me seems a little short, just because being a virtual coaching and things, it does seem a little short. But I just wonder if another meet or better communication on my part. I'm not really sure. It was a text message exchange, like 2 times back and forth, so I'm not really sure. I didn't get as much more detail than that, which is fine. Like, I guess I don't deserve it as a coach if I didn't help the athlete meet their goals. But it's just something to think about for other coaches. Like, do you put in something in your contracts when you work with athletes that it's only going to be you have to sign up for like 6 months or 3 months, and then you decide to, possibly end the relationship if it's not going to work? Or is it, session by session basis? Like what works for you? I just think it's interesting because I've never been in that situation before, and now that I have been, I think I know what I can do better next time in order to ensure that it's not going to happen, and provide better support for the athlete when they ask. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Forts Athletics Life and Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Charles Infernum. Have a great day.